You're listening to episode 313 of Calm AF, and today we're talking about something that might surprise you a little, maybe. It might shake you up a little bit, and it's this. You think you are operating at your peak. You think that you are giving 100%, if not more, because that's who you are. You are an overachiever. You're a high performer. You think you're giving 100%, but what if I told you you're actually running at about 70% of your potential and you don't even realize it? And it's not because you're not disciplined enough. It's not because you're not working hard enough, but because you've never actually experienced what it feels like to be a high achiever, a high performer from a regulated state. If you're successful in your life, you are already outworking, outlasting, and outperforming most people. But if you are also feeling a little burnt out, a little stagnant, like you can't seem to break through this next level, if it feels like you're spinning your wheels despite all your effort, you are not operating at full capacity and you are wasting energy in ways you don't even see. So today, we're going to dive into all of it. Let's get started. So I want to start with a story about a client that I work with. We're going to call her Carrie. Carrie is very much a high performer. She is a high achiever. She's not just successful in the way that we think of people who are operating at a high level. She is like kind of elite. So from a skill set perspective, in the work that she does, there's really no one that can do what she does at the level she does it at. She's at the top of her game. She is well respected and everybody knows it. And she is achieving at a level that most people will never get to. Okay, so we're talking a high performer. But when she came to me, she was burnt out. Now, like a lot of you who are just like, I just keep going, Carrie isn't the type to complain about stress. She doesn't make excuses. She doesn't crumble under pressure because she has been doing this for a very long time, operating at this level. But she felt stagnant. She felt like where she was at, she couldn't break through. It was more like she felt like she was spinning her wheels, like she had maxed out. So she was moving and efforting at the same rate, at the same speed, getting as much done as she's always gotten done, but not actually getting anywhere, like a hamster wheel. So when she told me all of this during our very first session, I said, listen, I know that it feels like you have nothing more to give, but you're burnt out, not because you are giving 150%. You are burnt out because you are spinning your wheels at 70% capacity. And I will never forget the way she just said nothing. She just stared at me like, I'm sorry, what? Because Carrie, like many of you, if you're a high achiever, overachiever, whatever, she prides herself on always giving 100%. Actually, when she was telling me about herself, she was like, I probably actually give 150%. What my 100% looks like is much less for most people. So when she goes all in, that's who she is, she goes all in, she outworks, she outlasts everyone around her. So when I'm telling her, hey, you're only giving 70%, she interpreted that as that somehow she has 30% more to give. And when I realized that's how she was interpreting it, like I could see her soul just drift right out of her body. She was like, Kristen, without words, she was like, I don't have 30% more to give. There is no way I can do 30% more. I am at max capacity. So I was like, wait, before you misunderstand, here is the truth. Here is the truth. You are not needing to do more. You are wasting energy. That 30% is wasted energy. You don't need to work harder. You don't need to dig deeper. You don't need to find just a little bit more somewhere. No, because she was already efforting at that level that most people would collapse under. The reason she felt maxed out wasn't because she was at her peak. It was because there was so much wasted energy in ways that she didn't even realize. So this is often what happens when I get to work with someone who is performing at that very high level. They think that you're performing at 100%. You think that you have maxed out your capacity. You're like, there is no way. I think pushing harder is the only way I'm ever going to get further up. But I don't think I have anything left. I don't think I'm able at this point to push harder or work more. And the truth is that this high performance state, you're not at your limit. If this is how you're feeling, you're not at your limit. You are just doing all of the things with this added struggle on top of it. Like you are running as fast as you can on the treadmill, and you are also wearing a backpack that weighs 100 pounds. You're like, no, I'm not asking you to run faster. I'm asking you to take off the 100 pounds. The top performers, the people who are doing big things and coming home and then enjoying their life, they aren't pushing harder. They are very much aware that I don't have a lot of extra energy to give. What I need to do instead is shift my focus to wasting less energy. So think about some of the people in the world that we know that are at this high performing level. So I am a 90s girl. I'm a Gen Xer from Chicago. So my example is always going to be Michael Jordan. You think about Michael Jordan in the finals, right? At the end of a game in the fourth quarter, playing with the flu, right? He cannot count on pushing his body harder. He cannot push on expending more energy. He needs to waste less energy during the game to get him to that point. Or what about these quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, that, the fourth quarter where they have played an entire game, like how long are football games? Like 17 hours long. So they've been playing for 16 and a half hours. We get to that last few minutes of the game. They cannot rely on their arm to give them more power, that the muscle is fatigued. They have to rely on wasting less energy, being more energy efficient. Okay. And that's the difference. The high performers are not out efforting. They aren't working longer, working harder necessarily. They are working by expanding the least amount of wasted energy. So let's talk about the science behind this wasted energy, because this isn't just a theory. There is science behind why you feel like you are maxed out when you're actually not. So I read a research study quite a long time ago, but I remember it was looking at elite athletes and heart rate variability. So in that pressured moment, what determines their performance compared to their heart rate variability? And what they found was that the ability to regulate your nervous system, slow your heart rate, bring yourself into a regulated state somewhat. They did show that there was a little bit of dysregulation is helpful, but when you get to the point where you feel overwhelmed, it's not helpful anymore. So the study showed that the ability to regulate your nervous system under pressure really does indicate whether or not you are able to perform in the moment. It's in that moment, whether you stay sharp or you choke. Right? If you regulate your system, the athletes who are able to regulate your system, they would stop burning energy on things that aren't the game and actually be able to perform in those high stake moments, right? So the best athletes, it's about your skills, but at some point you can be the best kicker in the world. But if you go out there to kick the winning field goal and you are not able to get your nervous system into a place where you're able to use your highest level skills, that's when you're going to choke, right? The best leaders don't just make decisions. They are making informed and important decisions from a place of regulation, not reactivity. They're not working harder, working longer, thinking more. They are able to regulate, decide, and then do the thing. The best performers don't just push through their nerves. They train their systems to handle intense moments without falling apart. And this, when we're back to Carrie, this is where Carrie's breakthrough happened, right? She wasn't burnt out because she was giving 150%. She was burnt out because her nervous system was burning fuel inefficiently, right? There was so much that 70%, that gap of 30% was wasted energy. The energy that it takes to be tense in your jaw, in your shoulders, in your gut, wasted energy. The background noise in your head, that inner voice of anxiety that's going on and on and on before a big meeting, that's wasted energy. The way she was running through every single thing that could possibly go wrong, have I thought of everything before she would make a decision, that was a lot of wasted energy. And then when she tried to relax and rejuvenate, she couldn't, right? So she would have some time to herself at home and she couldn't even relax and enjoy it because she was still dysregulated. That was all wasted energy. Her system was constantly in a mostly low grade fight or flight mode. And because she had always been that way, she just thought that's what it meant to be successful. This is just what it feels like. This is the price of success, is that I feel like I can't stop. I can't slow down. I have to outwork, outperform myself and everyone else. And because I'm so tired, I don't think I can actually break through to the next level. She thought it was because she needed to work harder. So obviously I was like, come on and sit down. Let's do this differently, right? Because this is where most high performers, overachievers, you get it wrong, right? You hear the word regulation and you're like, oh, you want me to relax? You want me to slow down? No. I mean, maybe, but really what I want you to do is recalibrate. This isn't about becoming chill, like not becoming like super calm. That's my job. Let me do that. Let me support you. But this is about becoming precise. This is about becoming efficient. So what does that look like? What did I start working on with Carrie? The first thing, obviously, always is to start recognizing your patterns. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. So once you have the awareness that your nervous system is pretty much chronically in a dysregulated state, you will have more information. Are you typically in that hypervigilant, controlling, trying to force everything fight state? Are you in a flight state where you're procrastinating? You are avoiding things. You are convincing yourself you're not ready. You need to think longer. Or that free state, which is also where you spend a lot of time overthinking. You're stuck in that analysis paralysis. Like, what haven't I thought of? And then obviously there's what many of us that are listening to this podcast engage in is the fun dysregulation, where you are managing everyone else's energies, everyone else's moods, everyone else's emotions, instead of the only thing you can handle, which is your own emotions and moods and energy. Now, most of my high performers think they're either in that fawn or that fight mode, but half the time they are in a panic mode, and it's like dressed up as ambition. So once you recognize your patterns, it's time to start regulating in real time. So that was what we started with Carrie, is a physiological nervous system, sensory system recalibration. So in real time, you need to stop, you need to pause, you need to breathe. You need to take some deep breaths to actively alert your nervous system that whatever the danger is that it is thinking that is happening, it's not. That it's happening in your imagination. It's not happening in real life. And when you slow your breathing, when you deepen your breathing, that is not something that you do when you are in an emergency. So your nervous system will be like, oh, okay, I can go over here to this parasympathetic and I can activate that. So whatever that means, may that for, pausing, taking a deep breath, shaking it out, shaking your hands, shaking your legs, just getting that nervous system, all of the things that your nervous system will not do when you are in an actual emergency. You're not going to slow down. You're not going to roll your neck. You're not going to breathe deeply. So that is how you are going to alert your nervous system, hey, There is no emergency. We can regulate. We can be in the parasympathetic state. Another way to regulate in real time is to pause and ask yourself, what is happening right now in this moment? In this moment, is there an emergency happening, or is it all happening in my head? Right? The emergency, if you are just sitting in a chair or sitting in your car or sitting in a meeting, and the thoughts that you are thinking are the things that are alerting your nervous system, but in the moment you're just actually sitting here, then when you zoom out and you say, what is actually real right now, you will see it's not the story. That's not happening right now. That's happening maybe in the future, or maybe it happened in the past. But right now, nope, there is no reason for your nervous system to be dysregulated because there is no danger. You need to get past the story, past the worst case scenario, and say, am I safe right now? Then it's safe for me to regulate. And then another way to regulate, right, when we talked about this in the last episode, is that choosing discomfort on purpose. So when you are feeling uncomfortable because you are having to make a decision, or you're having to, go and kick the field goal in the final 2 minutes of the game, you are going to, instead of reacting to that discomfort like it's an emergency, you're just going to allow it. I am feeling nerves because I'm about to do something that feels scary, or something I've never done before, or something that is a high pressure moment. Of course I feel that way, but it's not an emergency. So you're training your system to hold higher levels of intensity without jumping into that dysregulation. This is the difference between high functioning chaos and high level performers. This is the difference between being an overachiever and a high performer, is your ability to do these things. So we did that. Carrie and I, in our session, we did this deep calibration. We were bringing her back to the moment. What is actually happening versus what's happening in your head? And did some deep breathing, did some somatic work. And she looked at me and she was like, holy shit. I don't know if I've ever felt like this before. I feel like I have been fighting underwater my whole career for sure, but maybe my whole life. And I said, that's what I mean by 70%. That's what I mean. So where is your gap, right? Where are you leaking energy? If you are someone who is ambitious, you have big goals, you're a high performer, you're a high achiever, you need to hear this. You aren't underperforming or maybe not able to break through a plateau or some stagnant place because you don't have what it takes. You are stuck there because your system is wasting energy in ways you can't even see. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to take one moment, just one moment, and I want you to drop every single ounce of tension from your body. Just release it. Just take off the backpack that weighs 100 pounds. And then ask yourself, what would be different if I felt like this? If I stopped carrying this extra weight, if I stopped leaking energy in these ways by over stressing out, overthinking, worrying, if I stopped doing that, what would be different? What would it feel like if I could go into my day feeling like this, where I'm still going to give a lot because that's who I am. I'm still going to give my all because that's who I am. But instead of thinking I'm giving my all, but really I'm only at 70% because I've got this 30% of leaking energy, we're going to reclaim that. We're going to take that energy back. So regulate, and you will actually find out what you are capable of, because most people that I work with, that I see, even when I'm like watching a show about athletes or something where I'm like, ooh, they are so close to their peak, to their like highest performance. And here is the 30% that's keeping them stuck, right? What are you actually capable of? Not the version you're used to, not the overworking, over pushing, not the 70% that you think is peak performance. Because working more does not mean working efficiently. That's the real you. When you find that out, you will be able to break through into that next level. Because if you think you're unstoppable now, if you're already achieving at a high level now, just wait until you stop wasting energy on things that aren't helping you move forward. It will change everything. Thank you for listening. I want you to get out there and be the highest version of yourself. If you need help with that, check the link in the show notes for all the different ways you can work with me, or head over to KristenFinch.com. I will see you next time.